Okay, I am honored here to be with my dear, 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 dear babysitter from way, way, way back, Elsie Edwards.
Hi.
Yes. Now, Elsie, we go way back.
Yes,
way
we do.
back.
Yes,
How
we
long
do.
ago? When do you think you met me?
When you were 2 years old.
When I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine. Anyway, and how long have you lived in Pitcairn?
82 years.
82 years. And you are how old now?
84.
So before Pitcairn, you lived someplace else?
South Fork, Pennsylvania. That's
South
where I was
Fork.
born.
I didn't know that.
That's where I was born.
Wow.
Up the mountains.
I'll be darned. What brought them to Pitcairn?
Work. For my dad, come down here to get a job
Where
on the
did you-
Westinghouse.
He was in Westinghouse.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, so the reason I chose you to be one of the people interviewed is because I personally feel you have the real deep, deep thoughts and ideas pertaining to my family in more
Okay.
ways than one. Now, I understand way back when the two fire departments used to have bands.
Yes.
Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, and I don't know anything about this, but here's a picture, and they said it was my dad as a drum major.
Okay.
Do you
yeah.
remember anything like that?
No,
You
I don't
don't
remember
remember?
him then, yeah.
Well, I
No.
understand from what I gather, he was in the number 2 fire
Yeah,
department up
I
in
had
there.
I had a cousin in number, Herman Reed was also in
Oh,
it.
he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, he
Okay.
passed.
But this looks like my dad.
Oh
wouldn't you
yeah,
say?
that's your dad, yeah.
Okay, so that. Okay, and of course, this,
Pop Up and
Pop-Up and
yeah,
Grandma.
that's what we called him, Pop Up.
Pop-Up, and my grandmother's Margaret, of who
Yeah.
I was named after.
Right,
But they lived up on the hill,
right.
and then I lived down over the hill growing up. So I had the best of both worlds.
Really, because Pitcairn was like two little separate towns
That
back
is
then.
true.
Yeah,
And I didn't realize until I was dealing with my reunions, people in Pitcairn, a lot of people down over the hill didn't know up over there.
I know.
And people up over the hill didn't know North Pitcairn.
Well, back then it was like most of the Italian people were on the
Up in the
hill.
hill.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
And I can remember Grandma, when she lived on the hill, she'd send me up there to Gillen's, and she said, "Don't go ask for this, but you go up there and you say you want Dago bread. Don't say Dago bread." But anyway, I just
Yeah.
love them dearly, forever and ever and ever. Okay. So when did you first get connected with knowing my mother and dad?
Whenever I started to babysit with you.
Okay, so you weren't involved when he was in the war and anything
No,
like
but
that?
I knew all about him. Everybody in town did, of course, because his father was our mayor, and he was in the fire company. My uncles and cousins were all involved with the fire company, so everybody knew.
Yeah, Pop-Up was justice
Of
of
course,
the
I
peace.
knew him then as Mr. Lochner. I didn't know him as Pop-Up then.
Pop-Up.
Because I didn't get to know him as Pop-Up until after I started babysitting.
Babysitting and you.
And I got involved with the family, and
I get you.
So,
And it
okay.
just so happens now my husband, he is called Pop-Up.
oh really?
So every time he gets called Pop-Up, there's a heart thing. So anyway,
For
this
me
is
too.
this is my dad. This is my dad.
Yeah.
You agree that is my dad?
Oh, definitely.
That is my dad. Now, of course, he was in the Bataan Death March.
Yes.
Right? And he was
Yes.
a prisoner of war. You knew
Yes.
all about that.
Yes, I'll never forget when he came home.
Really? Okay.
Everybody in town, him and Clem Troy, the two of them, when they came home, everybody was
Now,
so
this
happy.
this is the Post-Gazette put this in the newspaper when my dad came home. This is the first time he saw my brother. My
Uh-huh.
brother was 3.5 years old at the time. And of course, and that is my dad, my mother, and my brother.
That's right.
And everything is there. And they even spelled Lochner correct in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really, really
Did
surprising.
they spell your mom's name right?
Well,
Doretha.
your dad had a tape that your mother sent to him. Do you still have that tape?
The only broken record I have is one at Christmas time you can hear the guns going off, and they were singing Merry Christmas.
Well-
And he got to record on there, Merry Christmas, this is Earl. No. Is
Well,
that the
there,
one you're
he had, I remember he had a tape, and because, he said her name right, Doretha, that's how she knew it was him,
It was him.
that he sent.
Well, no, I have a postcard that he sent. And he said Doretha spelled it correctly, also talked about their friends, Peanuts, and I forget what their friend's name was. Maybe it was the postcard that, she did know it really was from him.
But anyhow, she knew, well, she had that tape because
She had the tape?
Yeah, because she
I
played it. I
Really?
can
You
remember.
heard it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he knew it was her because, or she knew it was him because he said Doretha and
Oh,
pronounced her name right.
Never heard of that before.
I thought maybe you might still have that tape. I wonder what she did with
Well,
it.
a lot of the stuff of my dad's, including all his medals, everything pertaining, my mother gave to my brother. And it's all gone. For
Oh.
his medals, I had to go back in and try to get them all over again. They didn't.
Yeah,
didn't
because,
do that. Wow, I never heard that before.
yeah, I heard the tape, I remember.
Okay.
Your mom
This
played
is
it.
also, here's
Yeah.
also a picture of my dad that was in the paper that showed that he was in the Philippines, and that's really him, right?
Yep, that is him.
And the funny thing about it, he was with MacArthur, but if MacArthur left them.
Yeah, he left.
And at the time, when my dad was missing in action and my mother had my brother, they named him, or my mother named him Earl after my dad, Douglas after Douglas
Douglas
MacArthur,
MacArthur.
even though Douglas MacArthur left them there.
I know.
But come to find out, they found out later, Pop-Up's middle name is Douglas. It's spelled differently.
Oh,
My brother's
okay.
name is D-O-U-G.
Oh, I know it was Clyde.
Clyde Douglas.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, that's okay. Now, before we move on, I gotta ask you this. When my my dad, excuse me, when my dad came home, he gave one interview, and only one interview only, along with another Bataan Deathmore and POW Clem Troy. And they gave one interview to the Pitcairn Express. And
Okay.
this is the Pitcairn Express.
Okay.
Now, do you remember that? Do you remember the Pitcairn Express?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You do?
I remember,
See, this is dated November 16th, 1945. We're looking now at this article from the Pitcairn Express. And why this article is so crucial in acknowledging there really is a Pitcairn Express is when I wrote this book, this is my dad's own words here, and I used his own words to put into the book.
Yeah.
So it was real history.
Glendale was the owner of the Times Express.
Times Express or Pitcairn Express?
Pitcairn Express.
Pitcairn Express. I checked the Times Express, who bought out the Pitcairn
Yeah.
Express. There's no archives at all.
Well, didn't they have a fire that they lost all their?
Somebody did say they thought they did.
Yeah, they lost all their archives. So
Okay.
that's why they had it. But Glendale was his name, and him and his wife was in an airplane crash. His wife was killed, but he
really?
wasn't. Yeah, it was a small
Was he
airplane.
from Pitcairn?
Well, they lived in Pitcairn at the
did.
time, and then they had a place up on Broadway, clear to the end of Broadway, is where they published.
Where they published.
the first.
Was the
yeah.
Pitcairn Express there long?
Yeah, I was there a good while.
Look, this does say it's 53rd year,
yeah.
1945.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, this article is Life as a Prisoner of the Japs, and this was by Corporal Earl E. Lochner, and then of course Clem Troy did his own thing there
Yeah.
too. So this came in stuff from Marlene. 6 months before Marlene died, she sent me all these newspaper articles and all
really?
this stuff. It's really strange. This is why this divine intervention is all of this.
Yeah.
Because she sent me these things. I thought, what am I going to do with this? In there was this, and also the little Kodak picture book that I wasn't sure when I first started the thing what I was going to do for a cover. Inside there is that picture of my dad and I.
Oh, really?
Only picture I have of just my dad and I.
Oh.
Divine intervention for sure. So anyway, I guess the main thing I'm concerned about, Pitcairn Express is legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
It was here for a long time, and this looks like what it looked like. Because with me quoting all this stuff, and nobody has any archives of it, this is the only thing I have. Okay, so Pitcairn Express is the thing. Okay, so my dad came home, and he had to start the normal life. Now, to me, it always makes it difficult for me to think, even nowadays when people come home from the war, that after what they've gone through and what they've seen, and then all of a sudden they're supposed to come home and they're supposed to be normal.
Well, they call it PTSD now.
That's right.
You know, but it probably has been forever, but,
Right.
you know, he probably had some of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He was very outgoing.
He was?
He was very, very outgoing, and he was very well liked.
Thank you.
He, whenever they used to have the memorial where they would shoot the guns and that, he did that.
Did he
Uh-huh.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't
You know, for
that.
the salutes to the, yeah.
Like what happened at his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah.
this day, that still haunts me.
Yeah.
At his funeral, the gun salute and the tap.
Yeah.
And you're saying my dad used to do that?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
At the memorial.
I'll
Yeah.
be darned.
Whenever the memorial was up on Center Avenue
Oh, yeah.
before they built the
The place there.
Down.
Yeah, that's where the plates were too, right?
yes,
Wow. Yeah, I do remember that.
yes, yeah.
Okay, well, I have this picture and this picture right here, and you know who this is, right?
Yes, your dad, your mom, and your brother,
Okay, and that is,
Earl Douglas.
yeah,
Yeah.
the little pistol that.
Yeah, he was quite a little pistol.
Okay, so anyway, my dad comes home. He gets a job at the post office,
Yes.
and a lot of times I think he got that post office job because my great uncle
Uncle Boo
was the
was
postmaster.
the postmaster, and his sister worked at the post.
Yes, so my dad drove truck and delivered packages. That's what
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
And I remember that because I had very, very straight hair. And I remember they gave me a permanent this one time. And my dad said, come on, so different now. Come on in the truck. I'm going to take you around and show people your curls. I looked all curly and everything. And the next day I woke up straight as a poker again. So anyway, I do remember my dad. Okay, so anyway, my dad comes home, normal, try to get back to normal, whatever that is, you know. I think my dad probably had struggles coming home. Do you
Yeah,
know
he
Benny?
did. He did.
And then my mother, she probably had struggles for what she had to go through.
Well, they were apart for so long, and both didn't know so much what was going on in each other's lives.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know, and you get back together, I just can't imagine.
Mhm.
You know, you just walk in and say, "Oh, hello." You
Yeah,
know,
that's, where do we start? In
Yeah.
fact, they ran away to get married.
Yeah,
And they didn't know when he flew off to the Philippines that she was pregnant.
yeah, I know.
And,
Yeah,
you know, and
Yeah.
during that time is when my brother was born, and they were apart and not knowing. So anyway, they come back, very normal life, whatever. I don't know what the relationship was at this time, and we'll go on from there. But I like to tell people everything was normal and everything was great until the best time in their life happened in 1949 when I was born.
You're
So,
a cutie.
so is that what I look like?
Yeah, that's you.
That's me, and this is my brother.
Yeah,
That is us. How we ever sat there, and look how pious my brother looks. He looks like he's just, I often wonder whatever happened to that little locket I had. Oh, wow. So
you
anyway,
look like you were probably close to 2 then.
you were probably babysitting
Yeah.
me at this time.
Yeah, because you were 2 when I started.
And why did my hair always go up so high?
I don't know.
I mean, if you look at this hair,
I wondered
the
why your
bangs-
mother used to cut your hair like that.
Did she cut it?
I don't know who did it,
I don't know, but it looks like I'm shaved on
but
the
she
side.
always kept you a bang across, you know.
Way up top. I mean, I got
Uh-huh.
bangs, but they're down here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so anyway, so I'd just like your opinion as far as, since I really think of all the people, you were in our house the most.
Yeah.
My mother had you as a babysitter because, what did she do?
She liked to play bingo.
Okay, and my dad would do what?
Well, sometimes he would go to the bingo and work the bingo, but most of the time she would go to bingo and he would,
Go
You
out
know.
drinking.
yeah, he would drink.
And he liked to
drink.
play cards, too.
Yeah, he liked to play cards. In fact, he played cards a lot at Helpy's
Oh, did he play at Help?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
and at the Legion. He
At
went
the
to the
Legion,
American Legion. Yeah, they used to play
Okay.
cards there.
Okay, okay. So from what you witnessed coming inside the home with babysitting and everything, what kind of relationship do you think my mom and dad had?
I don't know. It seemed okay because they never did or talked about anything in front of me, like, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Did you ever see them show any affection to each other?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
No,
And,
not a lot.
and when we
really.
look at the whole picture, would you think maybe with him being gone so long and her going through what she went through, maybe it was a rough time for her?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it
Okay.
was.
Now let's fast forward. I know you said my dad was instrumental in getting you a job at the railroad.
Yes.
Okay, can you explain that to me?
Well, your dad delivered mail to the railroad, and Pitcairn had a very large railroad system at the time.
Mhm.
And Earl had a lady friend that worked on the railroad,
Okay.
and
This is more of just a friend.
yeah, she was more than a friend. But
Okay.
he took me over to the railroad to her office, and they needed a clerk. And I was graduating from high school, so she had me go to the master mechanic's office to put my application in, and I got hired, and that's how I got my job on the railroad.
Oh, I see.
But it was Earl's girlfriend. So,
And do you think that relationship went on for a long time?
yes,
Well, you do.
yeah, it did.
You
for a
talk
while.
like years.
Well, yeah,
Really?
yeah, I
Do you
think
think
so.
my mother knew?
Yes,
She did.
I think so. Yeah,
What makes you think that?
I don't know. It
Just had an inkling.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what happened with me one time. I was babysitting, and your mom and dad were out, and it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and Earl always walked me home, you know, afterwards.
Okay.
And from your house, you had to walk past the Legion to go home. And this one night he said to me, I got to get some cigarettes. Do you mind if I go in the Legion to get a pack of cigarettes? And I said, no. He said, oh, come on, I'll buy you a Pepsi or something.
Taking
So
you
I
home.
went in the Legion with him.
Okay.
I was like 18, 19. Because I still babysat after I worked.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
so I went in and had a Pepsi, and he got his cigarettes. And the people that they had been out with were still there. And one of them called your mother and told your mother that I was in the Legion with your dad.
You're kidding.
No. And the next time I went to babysit, she was very upset with me. Why did I go in the Legion with? And I said, why didn't you tell me he took you in the Legion? I said, I didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
I said, he had to get cigarettes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he said, you want a Pepsi or something? And I said, okay. So
So you did it.
I never thought anything. I said, I never thought anything of it. Why? Well, it wouldn't be the first time he cheated. So I know.
She said that.
Yeah, and she was like a little angry at the time, but like, I said, gee, I'm sorry.
Surely she wouldn't have suspected you.
No, I didn't, because your dad never ever did anything wrong or as far as I was concerned. He was always so good to me.
That's good.
In fact, I was involved in the American Legion Auxiliary, and he used to take me to the banquets, give me a ride, sometimes my mother too, to the banquets, and
wow. So my mother wouldn't go to the banquets?
not very often. She like, I don't know, she just didn't like that. I don't know, she just didn't seem like she wanted to go to that kind of stuff.
So he was the outgoing, and
he was very outgoing, and she wasn't.
And so she chose not to support him, I guess.
Really.
And I don't want to condone what he did, but maybe I could
Understand,
a little
you
bit.
know.
Yeah.
She was more of a stay-home person. He wasn't.
But how?
And it seemed like he had to be around people. He was, like I said, he was very outgoing. He was. He had a good personality, and he could talk, and people.
Like to be around them.
Yeah.
Maybe, I wonder if maybe because he went through the being a POW,
Yeah.
not being able to talk. He said in his own words, they weren't allowed to sing, they weren't allowed to seem happy, they weren't allowed to do any of that in that POW camp. Maybe after he finally came home, he really wanted to release it. And
And do
unfortunately,
things that he couldn't do,
Right.
you know?
and unfortunately, my mother didn't understand that.
And no matter when I went there to the house, I mean, I was there other times besides just babysitting. When they would go out to dinner or picnics or that, they would take me, and I would keep an eye on the kids.
Is that right?
Yeah, and
Wow.
so I was involved in a lot of family stuff. That's how I got Pop, you know, and Uncle Boo, and
Yeah,
that
you were
all.
part of our family.
Yeah, I
That's
was
why I
really
thought-
like part of, yeah, I was really like part of the family. And, like I said, your dad, he was an easygoing guy. And he was, well, my mother used to order coal from him. He had a coal truck too,
Never
that
heard
he
of that.
delivered coal. Him and Billy Richards worked for him. Billy Richards was a big guy, and he was the little guy, you know. And they
Never
would,
knew that.
and there was lots of times that my mother didn't have money to pay for her coal,
Oh,
and he would let her pay him
is that right?
a little bit at a time, so
Oh my
so
God.
he could see. So that's why you liked your dad. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
And I only had 7 years, and I still loved him, you know. But I hear all these other things, but I'm trying to rationalize in my head, but I think listening to you has helped me reason this all
And
out.
like, I remember one time we went out to dinner and somebody had rice, and it made him sick to look at the rice. He couldn't eat rice. Did you know he couldn't
Yes, I
ever
did
eat
know.
rice?
And you know why? Because it
They
says
had
in
worms in it
Yes.
sometimes whenever they would get it. And whenever I would go to the house, he always had a t-shirt on, always. You know how sometimes my husband used to walk around in his shorts, and Earl never
Saw
did
that.
because he had so many scars on his back and chest from
Yeah.
whenever he was in the prison camp. He
Yeah.
always had to
And-
have his shirt on, and
Yeah. And even Pierce's funeral home said he had the most brutalized body
yeah,
that they had ever witnessed.
yeah, he had scars all over his
Okay.
chest and that.
So meanwhile, speaking of this, maybe you can help me out with this. You
Okay.
remember the minstrels?
Oh yeah,
Okay. Is that my dad?
that is your dad. I can remember him coming out of the Legion dressed like this. And he was standing in front of the Legion, and I said, "Oh, you're all ready to go." We were walking up Center Avenue, and he stood there and did a little dance in front of the American Legion for me.
Here's the picture we're looking at. Now, something that Mike was talking about when we were coming down, really, this is, I agree the same way my dad always had to be covered up. If you see on here, he's not covered up, but look at that girl. Would she be looking at what she might be seeing?
I don't know.
I was shocked to see this,
Yeah.
that he was exposed there.
Yeah.
And this is definitely Trevor Treese.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so that's the minstrel. Then there's this picture from the minstrel. You know who that would be?
I don't have my glasses. That's Pop-Up.
That's Pop-Up.
And
that's,
Earl.
Right, he's dressed up in a
Yeah.
blonde wig and,
Yeah.
you know, things.
Yeah.
But there's Dad and son dancing in the minstrel again.
Yeah. Yeah. They were fantastic.
And then there's this picture that I have at the end. Now, Pop-Up was Mr.
Interlocutor. He was the interlocutor.
He was, okay.
Mr. Interlocutor.
And there was my dad doing that, and that
Yeah.
was this picture with the minstrel. Okay, so this picture, I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a picture here. This was taken September 1956. This is a picture. You know who they are?
Yeah. That's your dad, mother, and your brother?
And they.
And
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
This was taken, and this is Pop-Up Guy here. I remember when Grandma Lochner was taking that picture, she got so mad at him because she said, "This is a very important picture," and there was Pop-Up Guy right there. And needless to say, this is also a defined thing. I can't even begin to imagine, because she said, "This is an important picture because nobody wanted this picture taken." But it just so happened 2 weeks after this picture was taken, my dad died of a massive coronary.
Okay.
And there's the cigarette. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, he smoked.
You're
Yeah,
right.
he
So
smoked.
2 weeks after this picture, he woke up. He came back after being out that night, and he had the indigestion. They tried to deal with it. Walked to the Dr. Bacchus.
Dr. Bacchus on 2nd Street.
And Dr.
Yeah.
Bacchus gave him an EKG and said he was fine. They walked back, and that's when he died of a massive coronary. And they said there could have been 100 people around him.
And nobody would have saved
They
him.
couldn't have saved him at all.
No.
So
Oh.
I cherish this. In
Yeah.
fact, I have a picture, probably 16 by 20, when I go
Oh,
to the
really?
vendor show to talk about this. And, because I remember even after he died, I had to be dressed up in these cute little dresses at the funeral home. I can remember all those kind of things. Okay, so then this is the obit, October 7th, 56.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this states about my dad being 40 years old and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and everything. So this is the verification there that this all did happen. So the last thing before I move on is after my dad had passed away, there's this picture. And you know who these people
Oh,
are.
yeah. Yeah, your mom and grandma and you.
Yeah, and this had to be.
That's the
after-
first time I saw you with curls on there.
Where do I
See,
have
you
curls?
got curls.
Well, they tried to give me a permanent, but it was rough. I don't look too happy there, do I? I don't know why.
No.
You know, Grandma and Mom looked pretty happy, but they must have been forcing me to do something I didn't want. I don't know. Who
Your
knows?
mother and I always stayed friends. In fact, when she met her second husband,
Ken.
she used to call and have my husband. We would take her up to
New Kensington.
New Kensington.
Really? You were the culprit who put them together. Oh, no.
Well, I didn't put them together, but she used to call, and he didn't have a car, and she didn't have a car.
So that's
And
why.
I got a silly question. How did they meet then?
I don't
I know
know.
how they met. Ken's sister. Ken's sister got them. I don't know. Her name was Emily
See,
I don't
I
know
never
how
knew
that-
her, but your mother used to call, and after work on Friday, we would take her up there and then go up and get her Sunday night and bring her home.
No.
Yes.
So who babysat me?
Well, I don't know.
Because they got married when I was 10.
I don't know.
Mrs. Phillips used to watch me. You remember Mrs. Phillips? She lived in the Mellon Bank.
Yeah.
Because we stayed
That was
with
a
her.
relative of
Yeah, my
yeah.
Aunt Jane's
mother.
mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother-in-law.
Okay, well, let me ask you your opinion on this. Do you feel my mother really cared for Ken?
I think she was born lonely.
Well, you know, my opinion, I think we lived on Social Security and VA benefits, and we were poor.
Yeah.
And Ken worked for a steel company. So I think she was trying to get a better life for us.
She may have been.
And she might have been lonely too.
I think she was lonely too,
Yeah.
because she seemed like though she cared for him when she first started
Yeah,
going with
I
him.
think so. But see, I don't know if you know this, but when they were going to get married, before that came, my mother sat my brother and I down and said, okay, Ken has asked me to marry him. What's your thoughts on it? My brother, of course, was very no, no, no. And I thought, well, I'm going to go along with my brother. No, no, no. So my mother didn't even invite us to take us to Maryland when they got married.
Really?
We stayed with Mrs. Phillips, or Mrs. Phillips stayed with us. I always thought, wasn't that strange?
Yeah.
So, and Ken and my brother never got along. They used to fight because my brother looked just like my dad. And
Yeah, but your brother was hard to get along with anybody.
was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, he had a hard, like I said,
Okay.
we had a good relationship with your brother.
Yeah.
But,
Other people didn't.
no, a lot of other
Okay.
people didn't.
Okay. Well, and I wondered what my dad thought about him. Because hey, he was 14 when he died, so he had to have some kind of interaction or connection with my brother. I can say I had a good relationship with my dad. I really do believe that.
I don't know, your dad to me seemed closer to you than he did to your brother. They never got involved like most fathers and sons, like in baseball or any kind of sports. Your brother liked music. He liked his music.
And I think he and my mother connected well.
Yeah, yeah.
And that goes way back to when he was first born.
Yeah, because that's all he had then, was your mother.
Because the one thing that my mother did say, that when she got pregnant with me, my dad looked at her and said, "Whose kid is it?" He didn't think at that time that I was even his.
Really?
Hmm. My mother told me that she was very heartbroken. My mother wasn't one to run around. and
No,
do
she
anything like
never,
that.
she never ever did anything like that I ever heard or knew of. Like your dad did, but she didn't.
Mhm. But that's why when my brother, for the longest time, told me that Mom and Dad didn't want to tell you, but you were adopted. He laughed, ho, ho, ho. As you can see, Mom and I are very much alike, but you're nothing like us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got the DNA and swapped his mouth and I said, I'm sorry, but we are brother and sister, whether you want to believe it or not.
Right.
So, you've really helped me bring a different big picture to this whole story that makes me feel some contentment in all this.
Well, I'm
You
glad of
really
that.
truly have.
Like I said, I really loved your family. They were so good to me.
And you were good to us.
Yeah, I hope so.
You were. I mean, hey, how many years did I say? I'm 70 years old here, and it's been a long time. And who's the first one I want to go to talk about my family and to verify all this
Yeah.
stuff with my book? It was you.
I'm glad.
So thank you so much for opening
I
up.
wish I could do more because I would just love the whole world to see your story. It would be
thank you.
fantastic.
Only God knows I mean, if someone would have said,
knows?
if someone would have said 5 years ago that I was gonna write a book, I would have laughed at them. So that's why I really believe that from the very beginning, this has been divine intervention with this
Of course.
book. And now that people are contacting me to want a little more out of this, you know, it's in God's hands. I have people like you who's honest and sharing the
Well,
whole
I
big story.
hope, like I said, your dad he had a lot of good friends. Like I said, most of them are all gone now. You know.
But I never knew about this lady that was in his life, and like I said, I wasn't condoning it, but maybe as an adult myself, I could maybe see a difference in the two personalities and what they
Yeah.
struggled with and how that all came about. So you gave me a lot of comfort.
Well, thank you.
So you're a sweetheart. Thank you, dear.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you very much. Thank you.